Layered.
All right.
Okay.
A little stir, huh?
Can you stir me?
There you go.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so, Miss Kelly, what do we have here today?
We have a dark and stormy. Felt that
Dark
it was
and
fitting with
stormy.
our topic.
Very nice. I don't do garnishes. They just get in the way.
First impression, Mark. You like rum? It's dark rum.
No.
Me neither.
Yeah. The rum I like is that the really sugary, candied. As we have
Oh, we have a friend in
we got
here.
a friend. Come on, get out of here.
You're talking like a
what is
coconut
it?
rum?
Yeah, I'm really, it's not really true rum. It's like a, I don't know, that cordial or something like. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you're not talking about rum chata.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Parrot Bay or something like that.
Oh,
or-
yeah. Little coconut rum.
Yeah.
Little island rum. This is good too, though. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so my first of
All right.
many coughs. I'm going to warn you.
Yeah,
Going
you're
through
not
this
sick.
No, I've got an acid reflux problem going
Okay.
on. So yeah.
All right, well, we got to work on that.
Yeah.
But
So every
glad
time I
you're here.
cough, we have to drink, basically.
Oh.
All right, so
we
we'll
got
have a
drinking
drinking
game.
we'll
All
have a
right, I like
drinking
it.
game, yeah.
All right.
I'll try to hold it in, I promise.
No, don't. It might make this a little more fun.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, welcome everyone to this episode of Cocktails Are for Closers. And today, we're going to talk about something that I think has hit a lot of Floridians pretty hard over the last several weeks, and that is the impact of the most recent hurricanes that we've had. We've had a 1-2 punch just in the last couple weeks. And even though now, it's, what are we, 3 weeks past?
Yeah, 2.5 weeks.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's still very relevant to have this conversation now because there's still a ton of cleanup going on. There's still a lot of renovations going on. The insurance claims are still going through.
Yeah.
So we just want to talk about the impact of that on the local market, on our buyers and sellers. And here we go.
All right.
Drinks up.
Jake, this is going to be a problem.
He's like, as long as you guys stay on time, we're good.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
I mean we had a bad month, right? But
Yeah.
I think it's completely relevant because that stuff lags, right? And I think
Yep.
we're seeing the impact of it now, right? 2-3 weeks later.
yeah.
So beyond the emotional, obviously it was a devastating kind of event for the city and the state, but
Sure.
the business aspects of it are kind of catching up with what happened. So
Yeah, and it's, this is in addition to everything that's been going on the last, 6 months to a
it's
year.
been a
I
rough
mean,
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real estate market has seen a lot of changes over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And, it's, things that is like the election. You have all the unrest overseas.
Yeah.
You had interest rates.
Interest rates, yeah, just uncertainty in general, and if you were, we joke about this a lot, but if you were one of those listing agents back in April that said, now is a great time to list your home, and the market
Yeah.
is going gangbusters, you
Those
lied,
properties are
you
sitting
lied
right
to
now,
your clients.
absolutely.
You lied to your clients, and shame on you, because it's been a tough year for many
Yeah.
reasons.
Yep.
But it's not like like you said before the hurricanes, it's been tough, and if you haven't been communicating that to particularly the sellers, right? For the buyers, it's been great, obviously, because you can take
it's a
advantage
lot more
of that.
negotiating power.
But for sellers, it's been tough, and if you got listings, shame on you. It's
Yeah.
been a tough climate. So
Yep.
yeah, so this impacts that obviously. Big storms coming through doesn't bode well for a lot of things, but property values and I don't know. I just said if you've been down Siesta Key lately, it looks like a war zone down there, like a bomb went off, right? And you've got one of the heaviest weekends of the year coming up in Thanksgiving.
Yep. Well, we just had a meeting with the vice mayor. One of the things that she brought up, she said, we've had storms come through before, and they've had, pretty sure these numbers are right, roughly 50,000 cubic yards of waste is average for a good storm that comes through, and they're expecting over 400,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So the amount of debris that they have to pick up, I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah, you
get
drive
on
around,
it.
you see it. Yeah, I
Get
know.
on it. Whoever's in charge of that, get on it quickly.
We need our people coming back. And,
Yeah. Well, if you're a tourist coming into town, and you drive over the bridge, and the first thing you see is 37 sofas and desks and chairs and palm trees,
Yeah.
I'm not going to want to buy here. Why would I buy here?
Yep.
We're going to start looking on the East Coast, which historically that's the coast that gets hit with hurricanes,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, we got to clean that shit up.
Yeah.
We got to get it off the streets.
Yeah, not only that, but our local businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, St. Armand's, I'm glad to see a lot of the stores reopening.
Yeah.
But, man, it's still a mess. And there's still a lot who they probably will never
Back to
reopen.
back to back, right? There was 3 storms that came
Yeah.
through where they saw flooding on St. Armand's. So,
Yep.
I mean, there's only so much, for furniture available and spray cleaner you can use
Oh,
to
man,
clean
it's
up.
amazing.
It's, oh,
So let's talk
Tough.
about sellers, though, because, we brought that up. And I think even before these storms, sellers were still very, they're still living back in the COVID days where they are expecting a lot more than what this current market will actually deliver. So what are the right expectations for somebody who is looking to sell right now, especially with the storms that just passed?
yeah, it's tough because historically, every new season, I'll say like Christmas through Easter, right, would be the time when you would kind of reset prices and you would try and challenge the prices and go up, maybe 5, 6, 7, 10%, generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't know. People are going to try that for sure. I just don't know that it's there right now. I think, my recommendation to sellers is, price like it's last year. Like there isn't an increase. It's been flat.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of people that are moving off the key. There's still high demand to move on to the keys.
Yeah.
So I feel like there might be a lot, because traditionally buyers come from somewhere else, right? Almost always, just very few kind of cross town things, unless you're downsizing, upsizing. But there's going to be a lot of or more, kind of in town people moving off or moving on to take advantage of lower prices.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and if you look historically at previous hurricanes that have come through and did some devastation, like Ian,
yeah,
we are a destination location, so the market is going to come
people
back.
have very short
Yes, they
memories,
do.
right? Literally, like Irma came through, all this big storms from
Yeah.
years past. 2 months later, people forgot.
Yep.
What storm? What are we talking about? Oh, let's go buy
Yeah.
a beach house, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Our
Your
little
friend's
friend,
back.
our friend's back. Yeah.
Jake, are you getting him?
There might be a termite in this 100-year-old building we have. Yeah. Yeah. So normally I would say that, but this is a year. It's unprecedented, right? 3
Yeah.
storms in a row. It made you pay attention a lot longer than perhaps you would have. So there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
So
Record inflation.
what is going
flies.
on here?
Oh, did you get him?
I think I just Mr. Miyagi'd that thing.
Good job, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. He's down for the count. All right.
No insects were hurt in the filming of this podcast. So.
It's our guest speaker today.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look back at the history of storms that have come through, and I mean, Florida is a resilient
Yeah.
state. People want to be here. Now, what do you think? So, for some of the homes, especially on the Keys, a lot of the older homes that were maybe not up to the current building codes or elevations, what do you think is going to happen with those?
A lot of them are screwed. I mean, if you're below the floodplain, right? Let's say you're on Longboat Key and you're at 8 foot of elevation or something like that, right? For one, you might not even have insurance, or you may choose not to have insurance. One of those, or you may have given away wind damage, so you might have written that off completely. But with the 50-50 rule, there's not a lot of value to those 1970 kind of homes. Right, it's all on the land.
Yeah.
So if your home's worth $500,000, right, you're limited to $250,000 renovation. It's
Yeah, and
really
unfortunately,
not going to do
that's not
it.
much.
It's not going to do it. Yeah. So then, you're either going to see a lot of half-assed repairs, or a lot of permits that are kind of stretching the boundary of what's legal and what's not legal.
Yeah.
Or people selling the land for for land value. So tear downs. So again, if you're a buyer, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but on that note too, if you're a buyer, it's buyer beware.
You
right?
got to be really careful. Yeah, because once you got to think of the water that came in. Although it's like Gulf water, it's basically sewage, right? It's mixed with so much sewage particles and chemicals. As soon as that stuff hits your drywall, it is wicked up. 3, 4, 5 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it just sits for a few hours. But you go in these homes and they might have just pulled the drywall, the baseboard off and cleaned, and you got to pull all that off for the first 3, 4 feet, clean it, mitigate any kind of, because if you let it sit for a few days, and in reality it took a lot of time for people to get in there.
For sure.
You've got mold already, you've got all sorts of stuff going on, and it might be a total loss for some of these homes, but they're just going to sheetrock and paint. And
make it look pretty.
Make it look pretty, lipstick on a pig sort
Yeah.
of thing. And so if you're a buyer and that's happened, and we're going through this right now, immediately ask for like a remediation plan. Like what did you do, right? And ask for invoices of remediation companies, or if a contractor did it, that's fine too. But what did they do? And then during your inspections, you better
Make sure they have.
Yeah,
all
you got to
noted.
do air quality tests, to make sure there's no mold. You got to be really careful with it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and for sellers, make sure you keep all the documentation that you can, so
Absolutely.
you can show a potential buyer, hey,
Yeah.
it was done properly.
Yeah, and don't shortcut, especially on the remediation stuff. Don't shortcut
Yeah.
there. It's a lot. It's very expensive, and there's high demand, right? So
Yeah,
they're
but it's going
charge
to cost
even
you in the
more.
long run if you don't do these things.
Yeah.
Either your home's not going to sell, or you're going to have to take a substantial cut
Yeah.
to make
yeah.
a buyer happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a tough situation for sure.
Yep. And, you talked about the elevation and flood insurance, and some people didn't even have flood insurance. Well, not just in the Keys. We had Helene that came through and flooded a lot of areas that were not in a flood zone.
Zone X.
Yeah.
FEMA says we're safe 100 years. Never
Yeah.
going to happen. Yeah. And then
Well,
I have
100
2
years
feet
hit.
of water in my living room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that's one thing that with all of my buyers, I'm now telling them, I'm like, look, flood insurance, if you're in a non-flood zone, flood insurance is not expensive.
Yeah.
And it is worth it
Always
in
carry
case
it.
something
Yeah,
like that
absolutely.
happens.
And if you're out, that whole like kind of Lorraine Road corridor. Well, really,
Yeah.
the where they basically dropped or lowered the dam on the Manatee,
Yeah.
right? Some of this is government induced, right?
Sure.
And I'm
Well, we
kinda-
had so much water, they had to do something with
They
it,
did,
right?
yeah. It's you're robbing Peter to pay Paul sort
Yeah.
of thing. But yeah, a lot of those homes, like Lakewood Ranch is 40-foot elevation in a lot of places,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they got flooding there, localized flooding. So it's like just pay the extra $100, not $100, but maybe $1,000 for a flood policy
Yeah.
out there. It's probably less than that actually, just for peace of mind.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I'm recommending every client
Yeah.
do that from now
But
on.
I mean, at the end of the day, I hate to throw the government under the bus, but this is what the government wants. They want
Mm-hmm.
those old homes that were built in the 60s and 70s that people are still buying at 8-foot elevation.
Yep.
They want you to get screwed so that you have to tear it down and build new
Yep, I
to the
agree.
new codes, right? It's
Yeah.
like we hate to do this to you, but it's the only way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now that's no one intentionally is trying to screw people, but the policy of that,
Yeah.
that's the intended consequence of that policy.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the 50% rule then, because you brought that up.
Yeah.
So that kind of falls within those lines of what you can do with a property that gets flooded and how much you can actually improve it
Yeah.
until you have to go to current codes.
Right. Yeah. And then once you go to current codes, it's for most of these homes, it's completely unaffordable.
Yeah.
'Cause, you're raising the entire home above the floodplain.
Yeah.
So
And for those that don't know what the 50% rule is, if your home, let's say the home's valued at $500,000, like you had said, but the property itself could be a $2 million property sitting on the Gulf, right? But that doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the property
It's
itself.
the improvements, right? Yeah, exactly.
So you can only improve
yeah.
it 250,000 again, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
250,000 doesn't go too far nowadays.
No, not very far. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean it's a tough spot if you're a seller in that situation right now.
Yeah.
And I've had a few. I have a few, and they're asking for prices that probably are not going to be achievable based on the condition of the house. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were a lot of lots raised and available for new construction. If I was an investor, if I was a new builder and I had some capital, I'd be out door knocking and trying to get things at land value and kind of wholesale prices. And so I think that's probably what's going to happen to a lot of these places after they figure out they're not going to have the budget to do the renovations that they'll need to sell it.
Yeah. Yep. So investors, come on.
Yeah, if you're an
Let's do
investor, I mean, listen, you kind of feel like an ambulance chaser, right? Because you're investing based on bad things, but
in this market now, and with what has happened, you're actually helping people.
Yeah.
Because they just can't afford to rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, on that note, we're going to take a little pause here because Kelly is going to explain the dark and stormy that she made and how to make it, and then we will be right back.
Hey guys, for today's episode, we're going to be doing a dark and stormy. We're going to start with our highball glass and our Angostura bitters. Just go ahead and do 2 dashes in the bottom. Next, we're going to add some lime juice, about ½ an ounce, so take half of your lime. Squeeze that right in. Next, we're going to add about 5 ounces of ginger beer. Lastly, we're going to float 2 ounces of dark rum on top. And go ahead and garnish with your lime peel. Cheers.
All right, welcome back to Cocktails Are for Closers. And speaking of, you really haven't touched it.
I haven't touched it. No. So
I'm not a fan of the dark and stormy.
No, it's not that. So I go off tangent here. So I realized that I am one of those agents that uses a photo from a long time ago, and I don't look like my photo anymore. Right?
Oh,
you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of you out there. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. No, but so I'm on a weight loss journey right now.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
And I'm really serious about it. And I'm down like 9 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but it's So I'm changing my lifestyle.
Okay.
And I want you guys to hold me accountable.
We will.
So I'm gonna bring a damn scale in here, right?
So no more cocktails.
Listen. No, I don't. I mean, it's the name of the show, right? We can't change the name of the show.
Oh, don't worry.
Right?
I'll still have mine.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I will still partake. Some.
Okay.
But yeah. So I got to get back to where I was 5 years ago.
Good for you, man.
4 years ago, whatever it is. So.
Good. Well, I will definitely
hold me accountable. And now I'm not doing all your burpees shit that you text out to people. That's relax.
We'll get to that point.
Yeah, not there right now. I'm walking and eating less is my
Okay.
More out, less in sort of is the philosophy. So yeah.
All right. And how long has this been? You started?
A week and a half.
Okay, cool.
So it's not. I don't have much to brag about yet, but yeah.
Hey, 9 pounds in a week and a half.
Well, I'm seeing nutritionist, and we're doing weekly weigh-ins, and
nice.
So I just need accountability, basically. So
I got you.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Doing it.
We support you.
When we go out to eat, make sure.
Well, that was my.
We order.
Off camera, we just talked about going out to eat, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. So if we do, it's got to be like sashimi or something like that, right? Just low portions.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep, we can do that. No more steaks and.
Can't do all that garbage anymore.
Okay.
Which is good.
Good. Sushi from here on out.
Yeah.
All right. So, congratulations. But moving on, back to our topic, because one thing before we went to break is I wanted to ask Kelly, because Kelly has been here pretty much your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just these Yankees from. Well, you're not a Yankee.
I've been here. No. Houston.
Texas. Yeah.
I'm a Texan.
Yeah.
born and bred. You've been here, well, long enough. You're how old now?
27.
27, yeah. All right. So you've been here 27 years.
I can't
You've
believe
seen
you
some
just
stores.
asked for that on the
I know,
podcast.
and
Well,
I've
she's
answered.
27. You can ask a 20-year-old how old they are.
Yeah,
But yes, I've
So-
been here for, I don't remember, Andrew or Charlie.
Sure.
I was too young for that. But I think the bottom line is like whether they give you 3 weeks to prepare, which they never do, or 3 days, which is more like it. It's freaky. It's just one of those, oh, that's our
Drink.
cue.
sorry guys. I tried to hold
Don't
it.
be. And this last one, I would say Milton was probably the scariest storm we've been through. I mean, when they say you can hear the wind whistling, granted, we're in a 1920s wood-framed house. The only damage was to her fence, so she was built tough. But,
Yeah.
I mean, and we're flood zone E, so we're actually 2 miles from the water, but so high enough up. And so, we went back and forth with it, but I think what we talked about is it's how you rebound. It's the community coming back together, leaning on your neighbors. That next morning we're all out there. We have the chainsaws, the rakes, people helping people, and you just get back on with it. But yeah, here we are a month out. They just picked up the debris in our neighborhood 2 days ago. And so we're still facing all those cleanup efforts. And
Yeah.
I think it's something that we get better prepared for, but they don't become less frequent, right? If anything, they become more frequent, as we're seeing now that these once and every 10-year storms are now once every year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to kind of see how the community rebounds and what's next, and hopefully no more storms as we approach the end of season. So.
Yeah, still got a little bit of time left. But you said something that I think is key. So, a couple things. One is the house you're in was built in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Bad boy is still standing, right?
Yep.
You have so many people come in and they're like, oh, if it's not a block home, and it doesn't have impact glass, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it. Those things are nice, and there's like a level of comfort for that.
Right.
The house that I just recently sold was built in '96, single pane windows, never had any
Yeah.
issues.
Well, like
Yeah.
I said, so I'm working with a couple hours right now, and of course they're going to ask, right? Was there any damage, or what?
Yeah.
They're afraid. Let's say they're looking at a house and there's no shutters or whatever it might be, right? And now I just say, well, listen, we took a head on from a Category 3 hurricane, right? If it didn't get damaged from that, it's not going
you're
to get
good.
damaged. So, there's not like another what if. Now, yeah, if we got a Category 5,
Sure,
direct
all
hit,
bets are off.
whatever,
Right.
right? There's obviously
You guys better get the hell out
but
of here.
generally speaking, if it held up, through the last 2 months, it's going to hold up. It's a quality built home, or for whatever
Yep.
reason, great location.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so all right, so we have that. And then, like you said, your family is still here. Mm-hmm. They've been through many storms.
Yeah.
Florida is just a unique place. People love being here, and they're going to continue to come back. You just have to prepare.
yeah,
Right.
You have to know what you're up against, and don't be stupid.
yeah,
When something like this is coming, you take the proper steps to protect your house, protect your family. You come back, everybody pulls together, and
yeah.
we get back to
It'll
life.
be short term. I think this may delay our season a little bit, and
Yeah.
maybe the buying season in particular, right? So instead of, again, like Thanksgiving's usually kind of a big weekend, kind of the start of things, right?
Yep.
But maybe it's not until after Christmas this year, right? Because we need to clean up things first. People aren't
Yeah.
going to forget, or they may forget, and they're going to drive over to Longbow Key and see,
And see all the
sand
debris.
dunes in the middle of the
Right.
street and say, well, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So get that cleaned up, and we're resilient. It's at the end of the day, it's a beautiful place.
It's paradise.
Right? And you have no idea that a storm occurred because it looks just as beautiful today as it did 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Weather-wise.
another concern that I have heard, and I was happy to hear this. So obviously there's the debris that's being picked up, and it has to be separated. So all the tree
Yeah,
debris has to be
natural and-
separate, from the refrigerators and everything else. But the other thing I never even really thought about was the sand. the sand actually has to be processed
Yeah.
a certain way before it can be put back on the
Well,
beaches.
it's all dirty and gross, and yep.
But it's
And I-
vital to the ecosystem, I
Yeah.
think, is the whole why they were saying in the beginning, don't put, people had like a foot of sand in their homes right after the water
Or
washed
more,
away, but they're like,
yeah.
do not bag it, basically wait for us to come in. So that'll be a long road, but
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
it'll be, I had someone that came in the other week and they said, well, spring break, we're still coming. So I think by March, that might be when we start to see
Yeah.
some of those, forgetting of it. So.
Yeah.
Kind of the regular ebb and flow of
Right.
the vacationers.
Yeah.
But I can say I was on Lido Beach this past weekend, and man, that sand felt great.
Did it?
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All that
so-
filtration and
Oh,
cleaning that
yeah.
they've done on
Yeah,
it.
I
It's
love it.
tip top.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just getting there. You had to drive through.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, actually, St. Armand's has been cleaned up pretty good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, you wouldn't necessarily suspect anything, but if you're going to Siesta Key Village, I mean, you think you're
It's
going
still a
through
nightmare.
Ukraine or something. It's a mess right now.
yeah.
So.
But on a positive note, Midnight Pass.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that stays open.
Yeah,
and we're just done with.
Well, now you got political sport too. They want to actually make it a thing, right?
Yeah.
And shore it up and widen it, and yeah.
Yep. But I think
don't
that's
know.
going to help, the bay and
You think so?
just
Like,
everything else.
I don't know. It's a small opening though. I don't know
Well,
that. I guess it's going to help for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
In any event, it's going to make some people's boat rides out to the Gulf a heck of a lot shorter.
Yeah. Well, if you're on South Siesta Key, you could argue for your property values increasing
Absolutely.
just a smidge.
Yeah.
Because now you have Gulf access easy, right? If you're on the bay side.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few
There you go. There are some
positives,
Positives.
right? Yeah, yeah. So
All
how
right.
do you think you react to this if you're an agent? What does a good agent do in these times?
One, obviously, there's setting realistic expectations for your sellers. First and foremost, that has to be at the forefront. Because if you have a seller who is unrealistic in their price or what they're offering, it's you have to have that conversation. Now, and we were talking about this earlier, there are some sellers who they've got a price set in their head, and they will not go to whatever their agent is saying. And the agent has to decide, oh, we got a cough. Cheers.
Sorry, I'll take a sip on this one.
So the agent has to decide one of two things, right? One is, as an agent, do I want to take on this listing
Yeah,
that is, they're priced way out of the market? Or do I want to take it on but set the expectation that, hey, if we don't see anything in a week or 2 weeks,
yeah.
we've got to bring it down. And that's the conversation that I'm
Yeah.
having for any client that's not realistic.
Well, to be fair, that's always a conversation and always
Yeah,
a
it should
challenge
be.
for agents, right? You're competing with some agents that'll just elevate the price to get
oh,
the listing.
you want to sell your $500,000 house for $1 million?
Yep.
Great.
So I think we'll see more of that, but in more dramatic differences, right? It'll be somebody might come in and say it's worth 3, and you might come in and say no, it's worth 1.5 land value. I think it'll just be dramatic.
Yeah.
Kind of shifts.
I think agents just have to stick to their guns.
Yeah.
If you're doing the right thing and you're ethical, there's always going to be somebody that's
How
not
do you
gonna
feel
be
about
ethical.
door knocking? Obviously, damaged properties.
Here's the thing. It's just like in a regular market, right? You're going to have some people who think you're the scum of the earth, and then there's other people who are going to thank you.
Notice how I kind of said it with like a. How do you feel about door knocking? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
personally,
I would never do that. I would feel
Yeah.
like an ambulance chaser, like I'm
Yeah.
trying to take advantage of a bad situation.
I think it's a great opportunity.
There's an
though.
opportunity there.
And
Yeah.
again, if you
I think
do
you
it
just
in the
need to
right
be-
way.
Yeah, you need to be like tactful about it.
Yeah.
And not like I've seen, because my clients have shared like flyers that have been sent out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really, it's kind of scummy, and I
Yeah,
would just
yeah.
never do that. But it's being done, so
Yeah.
just realize that if your house has been damaged, chances are there's been a half dozen agents
Oh,
that
for
have called
sure.
or knocked or
Yeah. And,
So-
I think the biggest thing you can do as an agent is, hey, how can I help?
Absolutely. Provide at the end of the day, be knowledgeable, provide value, know about the 50-50 rule and all that. Have referrals that you can, put people in touch with the contractors and things. And I mean, that's always
Yep.
the differentiator at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Right?
And if you're a buyer's agent, it's now really making sure that you protect your client, which,
Yeah.
again, you always should
But
do.
lots of
But now
opportunity.
there's more things that you really need to go through.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially on the inspection side.
Yeah. I don't know if we're a buyer's market technically.
Right now,
I know that it lags.
Well, here's the thing. So
in my mind, the entire year has been a buyer's market. You know,
Yeah.
but I don't know if statistically that is supported.
if you
but-
look at the market statistics from last month, right now, as far as new listings, we're flat,
yeah,
right? And then pending sales are down. The average days on market is up. So we're at like almost 6 months of active inventory. So, I mean, that puts us in that buyer
it's a lot more
market
open
territory.
houses.
Yeah.
Even these big time agents are sitting
Doing
open
open
houses. I think it's great. Yeah.
But, you know, I think for an agent, you have to get back to what you should have been doing from the beginning. I think there's still a lot of agents from the pandemic where things were easy, and they're still expecting that.
Yeah.
You know, and I honestly, I hate bringing up the pandemic because I feel like it was so long ago, but people are still in that mindset.
Yeah, for sure. Especially price wise and time on market, sellers.
Yeah.
That's what they believe. But yeah, I'm with you. I think if you're a buyer's agent right now, you got to be well informed about things like the 50-50 rule and just generally how remediations are done and not in the details, but just have a general knowledge of it because that's the kind of questions you're going to get asked, right?
Yep.
And then, like you said, let's say you're buying east of 75. Same thing. You need to be aware of, even though it's a designated X zone by FEMA, there's a flood risk here. You just need to. I mean, we can just look back a month or two ago and all those homes that were flooded, right?
Yeah.
So, but again, a lot of agents aren't aware of that, or they're not going to share that with their clients, right? So, I just think you need to be over-informed right now. Be realistic, be aggressive. Like if you're gonna go after a home, now's the time to ask for a big discount. You won't get what you don't ask for. You're probably not going to offend anybody, and if you offend the other agent, then
too bad.
Well,
They
it is what
price
it
too
is.
high.
Yeah, be professional, obviously. But yeah, and then on the seller side, what do you think? What's the best advice for a listing agent right now?
To price it right.
Yeah.
You've got to price it right if you want that thing to sell.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be sitting on the market.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of properties that are listed higher than what the true market value is, and they're sitting for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Which 6 years ago we called that normal.
Yeah. It's a 6. Yeah, honestly,
Right. Yeah.
like a 4
Yeah.
to 6 time month frame was normal.
That's back when we did 12-month listing agreements,
Yeah.
and that was normal, right? We things were selling in a few weeks, so we were like, oh, we'll do a 6 month, and So I agree.
Now you got to get back to pre-pandemic.
Good old-fashioned agent things
Yep.
and advertising and marketing, and having an actual plan,
Yeah.
not just putting in the MLS
Yep.
and saying, oh, well, my brokerage is part of some schnifty that advertises some schnifty magazine. Like that's not
Yeah.
going to be enough. You got
Yep.
to actually market it yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point as we kind of wind this down. So obviously we see in a slower market, you see a lot of agents shifting from one place to the other. What's the best advice you can give an agent who is thinking about maybe switching brokerages?
Well, a lot of times the grass isn't always greener, right? It's greener where you What is it? Where you water is greener, whatever the saying is. I think at the end of the day, you got to look at your brokerage for how much money they're going to pay you and what kind of support they give you.
Yeah.
Right. And outside of that, when someone moves into the area, I won't mention names, but they'd never heard of big time brokerages here, or they might have heard of kind of a big box brand.
Yeah.
But they don't really care. They connect with the agent, right? So I would just say, I don't know. Do you have something specific you wanted to say about that?
No, really. I think it comes down to if you've got the right support, right? So you've got the right tools, you've got the right systems, and you've got a leadership that supports you. You're right. The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when things are slow, you get a lot of recruiters.
Well, there's
trying
that
to
going
pull.
on. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're 30% down. Size of, there's 30% fewer sales and 30% less agents, right? And
Yeah, so they're going after the
So,
producers to bring them over.
yeah, everyone's calling everyone else and making promises about this, that, and everything.
Yeah.
And
But at the end of the day, it comes down to your efforts. If you've got the tools and you've got the systems in your brokerage, then it's just you.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
Don't go run for the shiny thing over here.
Well, except for us, we provide lots of shiny things that are
Well,
great, and
absolutely.
you should always choose us.
Along with the systems and the training and the leadership.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. No.
So,
It's
if
always,
you're
it
not
always
with
comes
us,
down.
come over now.
It always comes down to the agent, right? You've got an agent, or they get their broker's license and become an independent agent, and they're still doing $30-40 million a year in sales,
Mm-hmm.
right? Than if they worked for one of the big brands.
Yeah.
So, agents are creatures of. I like to say there's kind of two classes of agents. There's agents that go somewhere and stay there for a while because they understand that it's them that controls their own destiny.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of agents that, kind of go around and try different things here, there, and maybe they'll go back somewhere and plant firmly, or they just continually circle around, and that's fine too. We
Yep.
it's a big business. We love both types of those agents, but
Yeah. And we're always going to be here.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, any other advice or thoughts, either Kelly or Mark, that you have for with what we were talking about with the hurricanes and just kind of where you see things going?
I think the market will be resilient here. I think just like your family has been here forever, right? People love it here for a reason. So once this looks pretty again, people will forget, and I think we'll rebound. In the meantime, if you're an agent, just be honest with your sellers. There's these people are already in bad positions, right? So don't tell them they're going to get $3 million for their house if they got to sell it for land value, right? Be open and honest. Don't be that agent that guarantees the world and then can't deliver. And I might get a canceled or expired listing in 6 months, but now you put that family through 6 months of turmoil and stress, and just you gotta think in their best interest always, as opposed to your own.
Yep, agreed. Kelly?
I was just going to say, stay positive, stay knowledgeable. I think, reiterating what you said, as an agent, the best thing you can do is to be honest, knowledgeable. And then as a community, stay positive. Know that we are going to rebound. We are going to get there. It's just kind of a waiting game after storms like this.
You're
and
right. I should be more positive about this, too. Be very positive. We are not Miami, right?
That's
this
right.
is Sarasota, right? We're not Naples. We're at, 3-foot elevation, they flood all the time, and if you don't yacht or golf, you fall asleep or you die, basically, right? We're Sarasota. It's the blend, right? It's
totally.
Demographics are getting different. I think there's a lot going for this area. Beautiful beaches, affordable prices, still.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Generally, for a town like this, they are.
Yeah. So I think it'll come back. You're right. We gotta.
People are still going to work all year long just to have a week here.
That's right.
They're still going to do.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Cocktails Are for Closers.
That was a good cocktail, obviously.
Not quite there. And we will see you guys next time.